So what up? Yeah, it's your boy Cubs, Coco, Chanel, Contract Cubs, CC, you know, the whole gang. But we out here. Thank you for having me. So with regards to the question that I've just been asked, so for those of you who don't know, I have older siblings, and I'm fortunate to be the youngest out of 5. So ngumatlino, you know, pretty much. And with having other siblings, I've been very fortunate to kind of see how they do style and what they grew up in, and you know, whatever they see as cool or as dope, you know. So like my sister, she's also a bit of a fashionista. I have one sister and 3 older brothers. I've been very influenced by their style, but between finding what works for them, I've also kind of figured out what works for me, and my style's a little bit more different. But overall, I'm into brands. I'm in marketing too. I'm a marketing student, so branding, marketing has always been a very good interaction between me. So I've always realized that in order to brand things that I want to do, I also need to brand myself. And what other better expression can you do that with when it comes to clothing? You know, it's a very good impression to always put. So back in high school, I used to actually have, I'd be the guy who would always have his laptop, and I'd always bring some like new videos or new, like, most of my friends that know, like I'd go to my friend's house, Ross, and I'd download some cool videos on YouTube or pictures that I'd really be into, from big brands to small brands, from Lokshin culture to Fear of God to Amakip to, you know, like being influenced within the hip-hop culture, and even in the whole spectrum, you know, just being a young black South African in this digital space. So a lot of the times when I'd come to school, I'd bring those up, people would view those things, and I mean, little did I know in the back of my head, with me gaining all of this images and like conceptualizing all of those concepts, I started realizing that, hey, I'm actually into clothing. Like, I'm into, not even necessarily clothing, I'm more into the fashion, I'm more into the art space of it. So curating people's outfits kind of came along the way. I obviously started styling myself, started styling my friends, started styling my brothers, and it kind of just grew onto that. And Ross had already been on YouTube, and he kind of really like ratted me up and told me to get onto it. So I thought, okay, cool, I still want to be me, and I still want to be original with what I'm doing. So what do I know well? And that's fashion and people. So I wanted to just basically just give you guys a bit more of that, essentially. Yeah. Okay, I'll start with some of the nicknames that I've also been called amongst high school to even now, from Ukabs to Kabazela, you know, people talking about clan names. So it's actually really silly, to be honest. Like, I gave myself that name. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, Yazi, we were here and like I ran into like Diddy or something, and he was like, you know what I mean? Like, no, it wasn't even that. Like, I just thought I've never really had a nickname. I mean, I have my government name, Sbu, which is a cool name. But like now I prefer my middle name, Nkanyezi, because it's a bit more different, it's a bit more unique. And I know a lot of the girls actually like it a bit more. It's a bit cuter. So I prefer using, and I'm a bit more about that name just because it's not as generic as Sbu. You know, it's so typical. So Cubs kind of came along in between. So I was living at my sister's at the time, and she lives in Chicago. And like, I had a lot of free time with her, and we would just like get up to silly stuff. And there's a baseball team called the Chicago Cubs. Obviously that side. And yeah, so I think part of the essence of how that kind of came along in between going to some of the games and just seeing the brand and the logo, I just flipped the words around. And I mean, if you flip the words around, it spells Sbu. So it's CUBS, you know, SBU without the C. And then when people ask me about the C, I just added it. It's not Sbu C, for those that are wondering. It's just Sbu. And then it just happens to look cool, so I went with that. And then the Colonel part, and a lot of people pronounce that wrong, which is, again, it's okay, because English is not everybody's first language, so I don't expect anybody to get it right. But yeah, I just felt like Cubs is cool, it's cute, like Cubs, like a baby cub, like a teddy bear, like, you know, somebody you can kind of like play with. And then like the Colonel just kind of gave it like a stamp of approval, like, you know, if you go to like KFC, you've got Colonel Sanders. You know, or like a popcorn, like the seed is called a kernel. So like when I thought of Colonel Cubs, it gave me like a captain, like El Capitan, like a, you know, like, and then from there, like, that's when I thought, okay, the 2 C's, like Chanel, like, you know, the 2 C's make it. So that's why I'm also into like that, because I mean, that's a cool brand that I've also been a huge fan of for a very long time. And because it's set the test of time with longevity in the game. It's one of the oldest brands alive. And I love the unorthodoxness of Coco Chanel. The whole works around that. So yeah, that's pretty much the name. Nothing fancy. It's just Cubs. It is what it is now. Exactly. Who do I, if I'm on the gram, or who do I have a lot of people saved on my Instagram? It's been a while, hey. But I'm a huge fan of. They're also on YouTube. They're called PAQ. And they used to upload like every Thursdays. They're a it's a UK company, and it's just full of like these 4 fashion guys, and they do challenges and stuff like that. So they were a huge influence in terms of just marketing myself and kind of just playing around with clothes, and kind of what I liked about because all 4 of them are uniquely different to their style. So one is a bit more street, one is a bit more like upper echelon, one is a bit more suits and ties. So I think when you guys pull it up and check through PAQ, people like Elias and Danny and Shaq and the whole, like all of them, they played a huge factor into, I think, part of my influence in a more later stage. But I think earlier on, I've also always been influenced also by like a lot of the local people. In terms of branding, in terms of brands now currently that I'm messing with locally, because there's only like a handful. I think it would be, of course, commercial, like obviously Umaklosa within the Prince, Utebe Makuka within the fashion, Rich Nisi. That's more on the other fashion, but in terms of streetwear, your stores like So, your stores like Tubab, Young and Lazy, obviously besides everything else that happened in light to them in terms of the company, but in terms of what they stood for initially, I really did mess with their clothing. And yeah, even locally, like Tegwini, we had about Temperature. Temperature, we have to mention him. He's a good mentor to me too. One of the coolest guys I've also met. He's been really cool. Matt from So, they're also really cool with it. Who else in that line? I'm just trying to think. Who was decent with it besides like I'ma keep. Scoop had Pieces. He had his line for Pieces that was decent for a while. But yeah, in that line there really hasn't been much. I think Babs to a certain extent in terms of the bucket hats. I would be lying if I couldn't mention them in terms of a way that they've paid for us within the city. So yeah, I mean, I'm always about supporting local, especially in Ghana. Yeah, I think for most people, like it is, when you wake up, it depends on the mood that you're in and how you're going to dress, and also obviously considering the weather. So I mean, if the weather's fresh, you want to be a bit more summery. Fortunately, living in a city like Durban, Ilanga is always out. Like, we're always out and about, and it's summer all year. I mean, it's winter right now. But we still want to be. I'm still just wearing a tee and just some sweatpants. But I think I'm definitely influenced in terms of the mood. And sometimes, I mean, in light of everything going on right now with the pandemic, and this is the new normal, I think it's always important to still dress up. Just because you might not necessarily be going out anywhere, you might be just, Uma was like, no Sbu Hambo Tengisingwa, or whatever you need to do, and you still want to be looking fresh, because
don't know who you're gonna bump into.
That too, and you just
wifey might be at the garage.
we don't. Well, hopefully, hello. If you out there, hello.
If you're watching this,
we need you to come through. But especially now, like I feel it's important just to dress up, just to feel happy, and just be about it more than anything. It's actually so crazy. So I used to have an accessory store called Minimalist.
I remember.
Where I used to sell some accessories, and it was really sad because on my side I had I had the ideas in terms of like I knew what people liked, especially for guys, because I never really felt like guys never really accessorized enough. And it was more on my side that it was like more of an inventory thing that I had issues with and still understanding parts of business. But I'm glad to say that's something I'm actually trying to look back into getting into. I am working with a partner on a clothing brand. So yeah, I think, so he hit me up, and it was more on his side that he wanted to do a brand. I never really thought I wanted to do a clothing brand. I knew I always wanted to be in the art and the fashion and all of those things, and like the behind the scenes and the styling. But after he hit me up and we did the numbers and we sorted out things, I was like, actually, it would actually be dope. Like, I've got the eye for it, and like, let's just, like, instead of complaining about what other people aren't doing right, how about I go in and show what I can do and what I can see.
Exactly.
So yeah, we are working on a brand. It actually should be dropping. Can I say it? Yeah, we should be dropping about hopefully next month. So yeah, like shout out, support. If you guys mess with the clothes, you guys should support. If you don't, you should still support. But yeah, like I hope you guys will enjoy it. Can't give the name of it, of course, right now, but yeah. The cool thing with fashion is that it always has a way of always coming back, you know, in terms of trends, in terms of style, like especially in the digital age that we have now, we all kind of get influenced by each other, like just from things that we see online. So it's always hard to distinguish like what's cool and what's original and what isn't. And what most of us always end up like the not main people, but what we end up always doing is just referring back into like our history, referring back into our culture, because there's always some beauty and some hidden gems when you dig deep and go into those things. So from a guy's point of view, like I forgot who I was talking to, but I was looking at like let's just take the Xhosa clan, like Xhosa people, like their clothing. I mean, I love their colors, personally speaking. I'm Zulu, yes, but I'm like, I just feel like with the Zulus, the colors are just like all over the place.
Right.
But with it's beautiful. It's very South African. It's very amazing.
Yeah.
But I love how like the colors are just like very minimal and just it's subtle, and it has a beautiful blend. And I mean, even their fashion, and much like most of our indigenous cultures, amongst most of the Nguni tribe, you know, you see the beautiful arts, not even in South Africa, throughout Africa in general, you know. There's beautiful colors that we have, vibrant, you know, it expresses who we are, it expresses our struggles. So I think a lot of the history of like men in fashion has come a long way into that. And like I always get told, like I'm always a huge advocate for the city. Like I love Durban 031, it's my place. But you know, we always get slept on in terms of, oh, you guys are missing fair, like you guys don't know fashion, you guys don't really rock it. I mean, obviously this is being compared to Joburg and Cape Town, where influence and demand and money and all of that plays such more of a difference. But I think some of the most stylish people originate from KZN.
True.
You know, down the coast or wherever. Like if we look at the most relevant or the biggest artists, I mean, locally or internationally, most of them stem from KZN, Eastern Cape. You know, not so much in those other cities who have had influence from overseas and all of the other things within it. But yeah, no, guys in clothing, I think, especially here, like I think right now it's hard because like I personally don't rate somebody who's just gonna go like, I can understand somebody who gets inspiration, like you'll get inspiration from like your Pinterest, your Tumblrs, your Instagrams, but like a lot of the time people just copy paste
literally
that look, and it's like, of course, how Yaropa, of course it's gonna look decent. Because I mean, you're rocking your Chelsea boots and an all black outfit and like a beanie, you know. Yeah, of course it's gonna look it's gonna look clean, but it's not gonna be true to you. So I always express that enough that you need to you have to understand your personal style. It's very important, and also understanding your size. For example, I'm a very small guy, you know. I can't be wearing a huge ass vest and expect to be like the hippest guy here. You have to understand what clothes fit for you, what makes sense for you, and staying true to yourself as a whole, man. That'll always express your style, not only for men but for people across. The way you dress definitely says a lot about you. Like for me personally, I always, like, if I'm invited to a certain venue, I always want to dress according to that structure, not specifically in that way, but as in, I mean, if I'm going to Memulo, or if I'm going to a dinner, you know, there's a certain type of look that you want to feel, but you still want to be the freshest person in the room. You still want to be killing it more than anybody, not for them, but just for your personal self, you know what I mean? So like I said, I used to push accessories. I'm all about the details. It's always just the little things. You never need like expensive clothing to be stylish, you know. You never need the hottest brands, because I mean, we've seen it. People will wear, I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but we know families that will, you know, wear that whole thing and still not look decent. But I mean, it's cool because at least they make us look better, if anything.
It's true.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know. I just think, you know, like with anything, like whatever your profession is, whether you're in the corporate space, from accounting to science to art, I think there's always a bit of a formula with anything. You know what I mean? For example, with the outfit I'm wearing now, it's just very monochromatic. You know, it's just a lot of black and white colors you can never go wrong with. and just keeping it simple and like original to that. So for me, I think, yeah, like we mentioned earlier, it does depend on the mood, but I'm all about just experimenting. I think I never want to limit myself within my fashion. I always want to, you know, I mean, I look at some of the clothes that I was wearing a year ago to 2 years ago, and I think I would never be wearing them today. And now I'm like, oh, actually, I can't imagine myself without wearing them. You know, so I think it's always constantly developing. Definitely always reading. I feel like we don't do enough of reading and research, because I feel like a lot of the times, what distinguishes me from a lot of other cats is that I take a lot of time in the art essence of it, is like researching as to why a certain designer uses these prints or uses these color palettes and what they were trying to speak onto a bigger message. So yeah, like for the most part, it doesn't get that deep all the time, but for the most part, I just wake up and I be like, okay, cool, what I want to wear today. But I also need to clean up my closet. Like I've been trying to do a lot of that, just trying to start afresh, because there's so many clothes that I used to wear that I'm like, I have to just give away or give it to somebody who I think would probably wear it better. Or, oh yeah, now I sell it on, there's that Yaga. I don't know if you guys know about that. But I've always been waiting for like overseas in the UK or the US. Like in the UK they have a Depop, and in the US they have a Grailed. And basically it's just like selling your secondhand clothing like online. So they finally have one here called Yaga, and like I've finally, follow me on that too. That's also at Colonel Cubs. But I recently got back into that, and I've been selling all of my old stuff because I'm like, I love these clothes, but like I want to also make a little bit of money on them. I can't just be giving them away for free, you know. Like if you had asked me this like maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, I felt like South Africa as a whole's industry within fashion or within clothing also has taken quite a set of time, you know. This is not now talking about fast fashion like from big corporates like, you know, your local stores like Cotton On or whatever. But like back then I felt like we didn't really have a lot of identity in terms of our fashion, just because we were always just watching what was happening in Ghana, and then we'd always just want to, you know, bring it in here. Considering also a lot of the fashion that happens overseas happens there first in terms of season-wise, you know, they'll experience winter first, and then only we then get the winter collection the year after. But now because we have so much influence and so much people that are into clothing and into fashion and into art, we're all about our local stuff more than anything. I try to wear as much local as I can. Even on my videos, I always try to like shout out like some local designers or some African designers, because our stuff are valid and we need to be embracive of that. I feel like we still do have a bit of that especially like in KZN. I just feel like we don't want to support our homies a lot. Like we only want to support them once they've made it, or once certain people have given them the thumbs up. We would say, oh, okay, Usbanban is wearing that. If we've got Ricky Rake or whoever, you know, like who's seen in the fashion space wearing your garments, now we want to cop them. But for me, like if I like something, I like it, you know. If I want to cop it, I'll cop it, you know, of course if finances allow. But for the most part, I think back then I don't think we were back then I definitely think we were influenced about overseas, but today we definitely still local. Of course we can't not deny being influenced by overseas, just because I mean they do control the media, and of course they, you know, it is what we see online. So from that point of view, yes, but a lot of more originality I'm seeing in a lot of people, and I'm for it. I'm here for it too. Okay, I'm still about Mr. Price. Yeah, they've also been quite loyal to me too, with a bit of work here and there, but I'm always a huge fan of Mr. Price. I guess we'll do some locals. So locally, Mr. Price. Who else? Let me just quickly think about it. Used to be Superbalist back when it kind of came out, but I'm not really a huge fan anymore. The thing is, like you have to really think about it locally. I like Sports Scenes. I think Sports Scenes has come such a long way from their clothing to what they're selling now. I like Sports Scenes. And then like I said, like some of the brands that I mentioned earlier, like I like the other little like brands that are here and there. So some of the Cape Town brands and some of the Joburg brands. But who do I normally? To be honest, I usually for me, I only really shop in two places, like generally speaking. And I do this purely because I always want to be like completely different. So I either thrift my clothes, you know, so whether it's like a granny's addict, Noma like Eteweni, like Victoria, or whatever the case is. I love the essence of thrifting, and just like finding gems and like seeing how you're gonna mix and match a lot of those garments. So I do a lot of that, and not 80%, not 80, like 40 to 50% of my clothes are mainly thrifted. Between here and back when I was living with my sisters, I'd also thrift there heavily. And then it's just online stores. So some of the local stores I've kind of mentioned, because not really that many. Who else? Yeah, who else do they sell this side? But overseas, Farfetch. I shop on Farfetch. Urban Outfitters. Forever 21. I know that's here now. Cotton On is cool. H&M is also kind of chilled. Who else? ASOS. Yeah, ASOS is dope. Grailed, like I had mentioned, Depop. Yeah, like I'd have to go on my phone, to be honest. That'll actually be just a little bit easier. Give me 1 second so actually you can see. Zara, there we go. Zara, Pakistan, eBay, there's some cool stocks on there. Sneakers too, StockX, shop on that. I've mentioned Urban Outfitters, Essence, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the most part. There definitely are 1 or 2 looks where I'm just like, you know, I don't know what I was thinking. I think also what happens is, you know, it's hard not to get influenced by a trendy fast fashion. Yes, you always want to be different. I mean, sometimes there's just certain trends you also just want to jump on. So yeah, I think there are 1 or 2 garments that have like given away or like sold because like like it's just not the same. So in terms of a specific outfit, probably have never really missed when it comes to an outfit. So I don't know if there's specifically anyone, but I will say between being at home and going to the mirror, I'll try like a lot of outfits, you know, before I leave. You know, this is if I really want to be looking decent, but for the most part I already know what I'm pretty much gonna wear. So yeah, there's no specific outfit, but I know privately, like in Dini, yeah, there's definitely been a lot of outfits I'm like, okay, I'm not wearing that, or I thought that was cool, but it's just not fitting me right. Like, because a lot of the times it's like the fit. Like, clothes can be decent, but like if the fit is cool and effortless, it just makes your outfit look dope. Well, firstly, just in Durban, I think we can maybe just firstly mention that. I know it happens everywhere else in the world, but people just need to stop wearing fakes. Okay, I don't know if that's trendy or not, but I think besides like the whole big, oh no, it's destroying like people's brand and like you're devaluing people's brands, but I just think a lot of the times, like, I tell you, many people are just very comfortable with wearing fakes, and they wear it very confidently. And don't get me wrong, there'll always be a market for fashion and people wearing fakes, but like if you're really about clothes and you're really about being a part of, I hate using the word culture, but if you're really about being in that space, you also have to be willing to invest in it, you know. So however you're getting it is however you're getting it. If you're working for your money, shout out to that. If you are fortunate to have people to fund you for that, even better. But yeah, like, let's just stop wearing fakes and stop jacking people's style. I think that's also just another thing. A lot of people are biting, and I'm never really ever looking for like accreditation, or I'm never really looking for like style bar or like those things, but it's like, just like show credit where credit's due. Like, we all get influenced by a lot of people. Like, I get influenced by a lot of people too. So if I can always shout them out, I will, in any way, little way. I just feel like we don't do that enough. I feel we don't acknowledge people's steez enough. Like, you know, no, his clothing game is the sickest. I'm not saying we need to go, I want to be bad with it, but like, I'm not saying dick ride, but I'm just saying, like, just give appreciation where you can and where you see fit with the person who dresses. Because for me personally, I know there's a lot of people who aren't on social media, but you know them in real life, and they dress up. They dress up. Just because they're not posting it, or they're not really about the whole social media platform, doesn't mean they're not about clothing. And those people need to be mentioned. Those people also need some form of like, actually, I got a lot of my steez from Sbu, you know what I mean? So trends, I'm not really too sure. There were a lot of trends, like the Gucci's and I love Gucci and all of those things, but I mean, again, like Nalanda, like, I know like there's only so many pieces. Like, I know people are wearing fakes, you know, Yeezys and, you know, in Y3s, and, you know, I just think with that, it's just like, you just have to try and be original. Like, go to your dad's closet, go to your mom's closet, and see what clothes she's willing to give you, or just actually steal them, whatever, you know, and rock some of those stuff, and see how fashion was done back then, and try to bring a bit of that influence into that, whether it be in the things that you watch, whether it be in the people that you chill with, because I mean, you obviously are influenced by your friends and the people you surround yourself with, not only in business but in a lot of the sense. So look into it. I think we can't make excuses for people in 2020. I mean, obviously with everything going on in the world, but we can't make excuses for people not to be looking decent. I'm not saying you have to be well dressed, but you just look decent, you know, like look like you get on wanting to wake up today, like, you know, grooming, guys, shave, you know, take care of yourself. Bit of a hypocrite right now because I'm actually trying to grow my facial hair, but yeah, just look good, take care of yourself, look good, smell good, you know, get out of the shower and feel fresh, you know. I mean, I play my speaker when I'm showering, and you know, I get into the mood, I get into the vibe, and I think that also kind of just makes, like, you know, the whole, I throw my clothes on the floor, no, not on the floor, I throw my clothes on the bed, you know, I hype myself up, I put a cologne or two, a few sprays on, you know, a bit of jewelry, you know, like, feel good, look good, and it'll always show.